Have you ever been stuck in a conversation that feels like you're pulling teeth? Or maybe you've been at a business event where you're desperately trying to avoid those awkward silences? As an engineer, I've been there. But I've also learned that by improving at the art of communication, you can transform these moments from something that you used to dread into something that you can actually enjoy. So whether you're an introvert or just looking to level up your social skills, this video is for you. Because today we're diving into how you can talk to anyone, anywhere, at any time, and actually enjoy it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Peak Life. I'm Brandon, and on this channel we journey together to design, build, and live our own peak life. As an engineer, I've often found that making conversations can be absolutely dreadful. But after reading countless books, researching how to better communicate, and practicing, I've discovered that meaningful conversations will change the dynamic of a situation. Whether it's a business conference, an awkward airplane ride, during a job interview, or at a family dinner with that crazy aunt. So let's break down the 8 key principles that can make these interactions not just bearable, but enjoyable. Let's kick things off with my favorite one, and that is the principle of go first. According to the book Supercommunicators by Charles Duhigg, most people are interested in conversation. They're just waiting for someone else to break the ice. And research supports this, and the fact that first impressions are critical. They set the tone for the entire interaction, and possibly for your entire relationship. But the good news is it doesn't have to be complicated. You just have to assume that everyone's nice, but you just have to go first. A simple smile, some eye contact, and a line like, "Hi, I'm Brandon. What brings you here?" can work wonders. Just this year, I was at a networking event where I felt out of place. But instead of sulking in the corner, I decided to approach someone and ask, "What do you do? And what brings you here?" That simple question led to a fascinating conversation about this guy's incredible life, and it built the basis of a great relationship for the future. So don't hesitate, go first. It's often the hardest, but the most rewarding step. Next, let's talk about being interesting by being interested. Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, nails this principle. People love to talk about themselves, and showing genuine interest makes you memorable. Active listening plays a huge role here too. People can sense when you're actually caring about the conversation and when you're just waiting for a chance to respond so that you can talk about yourself. So it's not just about engaging in the conversation and asking questions, but really paying attention to that conversation and engaging with their answers and your own follow-up. You can start with open-ended openers, like, "What's something interesting that happened to you this week?" And then once you hear their answer, you can follow up with, "Well, how did you deal with that?" This shows that you're genuinely curious about them, and not just filling the air with words. The great talk show hosts like Oprah and Jimmy Fallon are masters at this. They ask questions that make their guests feel special, and not just the same repeated questions that everyone else asks. As highlighted by the YouTube channel Charisma on Command, making others feel good about themselves is the cornerstone to charisma. Now let's move on to body language. It's not just about what you say, but how you say it. Your nonverbal cues can significantly impact the course of the conversation and how you're received. You want to keep an open posture, so no closed off arms, no sitting out there with your phone, and whenever possible, keep your hands visible. Engage with warm eye contact and never underestimate the power of a smile. Micro expressions like a quick nod or even a wink will also help you convey empathy and understanding. Next is active listening, which is crucial. It's about being present, fully concentrating on understanding and responding to what the other person is saying. Like we talked about in principle 2, you become interesting when you're interested in the other person. It goes beyond just hearing the words. It's about being present and engaged in that conversation. To practice active listening, nod occasionally, give verbal affirmations like "I see" or "that makes sense." And the key here is to avoid interrupting. Don't finish someone else's sentence and let them finish their entire thought. And then you can summarize back what the person said in your own words by saying something like, "Oh, so what you're saying is X." This shows that you value their input and that you're understanding what they're saying. Now moving on to finding common ground. Finding common ground is a powerful way to build rapport quickly. Shared interests, experiences, or even mutual acquaintances will create a sense of familiarity and connection. At a recent business conference, I was talking to someone who also loves hiking, and by asking them questions about what trails they like, what sort of verticals they do, and where the best places are that they've hiked. Through this, we connected instantly and built a relationship that we now look forward to every time that we see each other. By having something more to talk about, the conversation flows a lot naturally, and it can then create the familiarity so that you can ask the hard questions about whatever subject's at hand. You can find common ground by asking things like, well, what do you like to do in your free time? Or where's somewhere recently that you traveled to? Next up, it's essential to respect personal space and cultural differences. People will have varying comfort levels of their physical space and their personal boundaries. So when meeting someone new, and especially when they're from a different cultural background, be aware of this. Some people prefer to go in with a firm handshake. Other people like more space and just a slight bow or a nod. And more than just how you first interact, also the type of conversations. Cultures will have different comfort levels for what they're willing to share and what they're not willing to share. Understanding and respecting this can help you prevent misunderstandings. And then we have to use humor wisely. Humor can be an extremely powerful and effective way to break the ice. And when it lands, you can build connections a lot quicker, but you have to use it wisely. A well-timed joke or a lighthearted comment will make the interaction go smoother and be more enjoyable. However, when it doesn't land, you run the risk of alienating someone else or even offending them. The key is to avoid sensitive topics and stay well clear of sarcasm, as it's so often misinterpreted. A good rule of thumb is to keep everything positive and inclusive. And finally, we have be authentic. People can sense really easily when you're being true to yourself or when you're just putting on a facade. Authenticity is what builds trust and makes your interactions much more meaningful. So you want to share your true thoughts and feelings. And as I've learned recently, it's okay to share your vulnerabilities and what you're struggling with. People will prefer when you admit that you don't know something, rather than just trying to lie and make it up. Authenticity resonates with people and builds stronger and deeper connections. And I know for me personally, I'd much rather have a real conversation about what someone's struggling with at work than another conversation about how the weather is. So let's recap. The principles for building better communication and learning how to talk to anyone, anytime, and anywhere are to go first. Be interested to be interesting. Establish warm body language. Use active listening. Find common ground. Respect the personal space and cultural differences, use your humor wisely, and be authentic. These principles are backed by psychological research, and I've found them to be tremendously helpful in my own personal and professional life. They're approachable, and they can be practiced and mastered by anyone. But remember, any skill is like a muscle. It's something that has to be trained and developed. The more you use them, the stronger they will get, and the less awkward it will feel. Start small, just by using the principle of go first. Practice them often, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. I'd love if you could share your experience down below. If you're an introvert, or if you just struggle making small talk, let me know what techniques have helped you. So thanks for watching, and please consider sharing this video to someone else to help improve their communication. And if you like this content, please subscribe for more videos where we design, build, and live our own peak life. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one up here. Bye.